gracious good day to one and all once again. 'Tis I, Norton the First, by grace of God, Emperor of the United States and Protector of Mexico, back with you all once again for episode number 140 of Emperor Norton's fantastic history vlog. Today is September 16, 2020, our 181st day under COVID-19 restrictions. A couple programming notes before we begin. Don't forget, tomorrow is Empire Day, the anniversary of the day we proclaimed ourselves Emperor of the United States on September 17, 1859. We invite one and all to attend a special event from the Emperor Norton Legacy League. We're going to have a round of Emperor Norton Sundays, Ask the Emperor, and what we mean to you. It is a free event via Zoom if you do not have the link, and it is up on the Emperor Norton Legacy League Facebook page under the event description. Send us an email to emperornortontour@gmail.com, and we will gladly send you the link. Secondly, we are considering relaunching our tours. We think it's about time. It has become now legal to do this within the city of San Francisco. We do have to limit the size of our groups. We're thinking about bringing them back on Saturdays only, once a day, possibly Sunday instead. We're not sure yet. We used to do the tour on Saturday, but we would like to continue to do the vlog on Saturday with the Countess. If the case that we end up doing, epaulets are a little bit off, excuse me. In case we end up doing it on Saturday, then that vlog will move to Sunday. So always tune in for the Emperors. It's always the Countess, pardon me. Always a fun time. So let's begin with our national days. It is National Guacamole Day. Oh, we do enjoy a good bowl of guacamole. And every year around this time, there's a guacamole festival here in our own Bernal Heights, which we've been a celebrity judge at for the last few years, but it's not taking place this year because of the COVID-19 restrictions. You can't get about 300 people into a small yard and everybody tasting guacamole and deciding a winner. That wouldn't be a good idea right now. So we love doing it every year. Understand why we're not doing it this year, and hopefully next year we will be back. Save your best guacamole recipes. It is Collect Rocks Day. Well, we do collect rocks, and we have a considerable collection of them in the Imperial Garden. So check that out. Maybe next time we do a vlog from out there, we'll show some of them to you. We were thinking about working from outside today, but yesterday was difficult. Whenever there's just a little bit of wind, and there's a lot of wind here, it really affects the audio, and we apologize for the audio quality on yesterday's episode. Moving on. It is National Play-Doh Day. Oh, he was our favorite Greek philosopher. And National School Backpack Awareness Day. Really? That needs a day? Okay. These are unusual sometimes, aren't they? Yes, indeed. The more unusual, the better, perhaps. Yes. Florida Man. Today's story in Florida Man, plants but no pants. Florida Man gardens in the nude. They had to warn the children. Now, moving on to our San Francisco story for today. This is a story we've been wanting to tell for a long time. And this is the birth date in 1822 of Charles Crocker. He was a businessman, railroad tycoon, Central Pacific, Southern Pacific Railroad. He was one of the big four: Mark Hopkins, Charles Crocker, Leland Stanford, and Collis Huntington, who built the Transcontinental Railroad. They also built beautiful mansions on Nob Hill. And we have been wanting to tell the story of the Crocker Spite Fence for a while now. And so this seemed like a good day to do it. I know we've hinted at it numerous times over the course of these episodes. So today's story is not from the book that we normally quote from. It is from, it is a historical essay from foundsf.org. We'll put the website up there. It is a wonderful, wonderful website with lots of great information about San Francisco history. And this particular essay It was written by James Sederberg. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. It might be Cederberg, but I think it's Sederberg. We begin. Charles Crocker was a man who was used to getting what he wanted. A former dry goods merchant, the 6-foot-tall, 300-pound Crocker had made his fortune by overseeing and financing the Central Pacific Railroad. In order to find enough labor for this grueling and monumental task, Crocker, along with the other members of the Big Four, shipped over thousands of low-wage Chinese workers, derogatorily called coolies, sorry for that. He acquired the land on which to lay the tracks by simply buying the right-of-way at the appraised value with or without the consent of the owner. No obstacle was going to get in the way of Crocker or the progress of capitalism. Nicholas Jung was a native of Germany who had arrived in the U.S. in 1848. He established himself in the mortuary business, and in 1855, he and his wife bought a corner lot at the top of California Street Hill and built a modest home. In those days, the treacherous climb made to Jung's hilltop home seemed almost isolated and removed from the hustle and bustle of gold rush San Francisco. The location offered Jung and his family a stunning view. To the north, they could look out to the Golden Gate. To the east, there was the bay and the Berkeley Hills. To the south, they could watch the sprawling, teeming city below. All around the house was a great flood of fresh air and sunlight. In April 1878, the California Street Line cable cars commenced operations. The newfound accessibility turned the once remote California Street Hill into San Francisco's most exclusive real estate area. Leland Stanford and Mark Hopkins both built palatial mansions on what had become almost overnight Nob Hill, and I believe Collis Huntington did as well. Charles Crocker, never one to be outdone, planned to build his house even higher up the hill than his rivals. He planned a great spectacle of his wealth and power, including a 75-foot tower from which he could view the goings-on of San Francisco. Money, of course, was no object to Crocker, but Nicholas Jung, who owned the northeast corner of Crocker's block, was. Crocker made several offers to buy out Jung at the market price, but Jung refused. As progress on the mansion continued, Crocker became more and more desperate to have Jung and his house removed. When dynamite was used to level the craggy hilltop for his home, Crocker apparently ordered his workmen to aim the flying debris toward Jung's house. The undertaker held his ground. With the mansion just about completed, Crocker made one final attempt to buy Jung's property, doubling his original offer. Jung, however, because of the beautiful view, the wishes of his family, or his own sense of defiance and pride, refused Crocker yet again. This time, the railroad baron had a plan. He ordered his workmen to construct a 3-sided wood fence around Jung's house. The fence rose 40 feet into the sky, and the view, the sunshine, and the fresh air that the Jungs had enjoyed were all but completely taken away. With only northern exposure left to them, the Jungs felt as if they were living at the bottom of a well. The fence was in place, and the battles over it and what it represented were just beginning. Crocker's Spite Fence, as it was known, became one of the city's most popular sightseeing attractions. People would ride the cable car to the top of Nob Hill to stare and to talk about this symbol of capitalist power over the little man. Californians loved to be shocked into loathing Crocker and all that he represented. The newspapers, echoing the ire of most San Franciscans, began calling the fence Crocker's Crime. Enter Dennis Kearney. The late 1870s were a time of nationwide economic depression and high unemployment. In San Francisco, rage was directed toward not only the railroad barons, but against the low-wage Chinese laborers who many felt were threatening the jobs of, quote, white Americans, unquote. Kearney, capitalizing on this rage, formed the Working Man's Party of California, WPC. The party's slogan was, "The Chinese must go." And in fact, we broke up a rally that Kearney had about this very thing. Because of economic conditions and the resentment that they created, the WPC managed to sweep the city elections in 1878 and 1879. The Spite Fence was a symbol that fired up the WPC members and motivated others to join. Although racism was one of the platforms of the WPC, many members joined more for the labor issues than the politics of hate. On October 29, 1878, the WPC held a mass rally on top of Nob Hill. The setting was perfect for inciting the rage of the laborers. Lime barrels were set on fire and cast their light upon the ostentatious display of the capitalist's wealth. Hundreds of armed men lined the halls of Crocker Mansion, ready to defend him and his million-dollar art collection if violence were to break out. Over 2,000 WPC members stood out in the cold night air to hear Kearney, in his incredibly oratorical style, rally them against the supposed enemies. This is a quote. "When the Chinese question is settled," he roared, "we can discuss whether it would be better to hang, shoot, or cut the capitalists into pieces." Unquote. He told the crowd that if Crocker didn't remove the spite fence by Thanksgiving Day, Kearney and the WPC would tear it down themselves. The battle lines had been drawn. Unfortunately, that particular battle never took place. 2 days after the Nob Hill rally, Kearney was arrested for attempting to incite a riot. Although he was released before Thanksgiving, the WPC didn't climb up the hill that day, and Kearney, seemingly more anti-Chinese than anti-capitalist, never made good on his promise to tear down the fence. The spite fence stayed in place until a few years later, Jung eventually sold out to Crocker and the fence was torn down. Actually, I believe it was his widow that did that. Just a few years after that, in 1906, the Great Fire made cinders of all but one of the millionaire's digs, and that would be the Flood Mansion, right by there. Today, the impressive Grace Cathedral stands where Crocker and Jung once lived. Great story, isn't it? Well, let's move on to our other history for today. 1795, British capture Cape Town, South Africa from the Dutch. We would arrive 20 years later. 1782, the Great Seal of the United States of America is used for the first time. 1810, Mexico issues Grito de Dolores, calling for the end of Spanish rule, Mexican Independence Day. And as the protector of Mexico, we think that's a good thing. 1830, Oliver Wendell Holmes writes the poem Old Ironsides as a tribute to the 18th century USS Constitution. 1858, the first overland mail for California arrives in San Francisco. 1908, the carriage maker William C. Durant founds General Motors in Flint, Michigan. 1920, the Wall Street bombing occurs at 12:01 p.m. when a horse-drawn wagon explodes on Wall Street, New York, killing 38 and injuring 143. 1931, a blimp is moored to the Empire State Building. It was a privately owned dirigible, docked for a mere 3 minutes and 40-mile-an-hour wind. The photo is fake. 1941, Adolf Hitler orders that for every dead German, 100 Yugoslavs should be killed. 1968, Richard Nixon appears on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. Sock it to me? 1974, BART begins regular Trans-Bay service through the tunnel that was our idea and should be named for us. 1974 as well, U.S. President Gerald Ford announces conditional amnesty for U.S. Vietnam War deserters. 1997, Apple Computer names co-founder Steve Jobs interim CEO, taking over from the disastrous John Sculley years. Of course, he brought the company back to greatness and was behind the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad, until he passed away from pancreatic cancer. This entire vlog is shot, edited, uploaded, everything on an iPhone. We're very proud of that, as Apple should be, that we have chosen them. In 2018, Salesforce founder Mark Benioff and wife Lynn Benioff announced the purchase of Time magazine for $190 million. Hey, now let's get on to our births today. 1875, James Cash Penny, J.C. Penney. entrepreneur department store founder, J.C. Penn. Yes. 1914, Alan Funt, host and creator of Candid Camera. Smile, you're on Candid Camera. 1924, Bess Meyerson, Miss America 1945, the first and only Jewish person to ever hold that title. 1924 as well, one of our favorites, Lauren Bacall, in such movies as Key Largo, Dark Passage, which was shot on Telegraph Hill. If you've never seen that movie, she and Humphrey Bogart are great in it, and you see a lot of Telegraph Hill in the 1940s as well. As Union Square, check it out. It's an underappreciated movie, we think. 1926, Robert Schuller, American televangelist, built the Glass Cathedral in Garden Grove, the Crystal Cathedral, actually, although the Schullers no longer own it. I think it's owned by the Catholic Church now. 1927, Peter Falk, behind Columbo, great actor. 1943, James Allen McPherson, the first black writer to win the Pulitzer Prize. 1956, David Copperfield, the great magician. Deaths today. 1670, William Penn, English admiral and politician, father and the founder of the province of Pennsylvania. 1936, Daniel Gabriel Fahrenheit, Dutch, German, Polish physician and inventor, the scientific instrument maker, who invented the thermometer and the Fahrenheit scale, and he and Anders Celsius are always getting into fights about whose scale worked better. 1890, Louis Le Prince, French artist and original inventor of the motion picture camera, sometimes called the father of cinematography, vanishes under mysterious circumstances. I bet Edison had something to do with it. 2005, Gordon Gould, American physicist, inventor of the laser. 2016, playwright Edward Albee. Who's afraid of Virginia Woolf? I am. Our quote today is from Ambrose Bierce, a great writer who was here for a long time, The Devil's Dictionary. There are uglier buildings in America than the Crocker House on Nob Hill, but they were built with public money and for public purpose. Among architectural triumphs of private fortune and personal taste, it is peerless. Well, that wraps it up for today's edition. Now, don't forget, we do have Empire Day coming up tomorrow at 7 p.m. via the Emperor Norton Legacy League. Please tune in. We're going to have a splendid time. Also, we would appreciate anyone who likes to leave us a tip. All of our wonderful donors are hugely appreciated to refill the coffers of the Imperial Treasury. Here's the information for that. You can do a monthly subscription via Patreon of any amount, or you can leave one-time donations via either PayPal or Venmo. We've put the Venmo address up there too at the request of our most recent donor. Thank you very much. Also, here's more information about what the Countess and I normally do and that we hope we will be doing again come October. Until we see you again, stay safe, stay inside, and therefore, stay healthy. If you do go outside, please, 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 please wear a mask. Very important. We're not trying to take away your rights or have you die from lack of oxygen. That's a myth. It's the best thing you can do to prevent disease and death and misery. And had we done this back in February, March, things would be back to a reasonable sense of normalcy by now. Don't take unproven cures that might kill you. I don't think there's any new ones out there. We hope not. Until we see you again. Oh, almost forgot. Be kind to one another. And we forgot to mention that yesterday, seeing it as how it was Judith Martin's, I believe, birthday yesterday, Miss Manners. Etiquette, above all, be kind to one another. Have some empathy. See the point of view of the other person. Until we see you again, a gracious good day.